Welcome to the first class in our series titled Buddhist Activism for Today's World. Thank you for joining us. Just give you a little preview of what you can expect for this class, this gathering. We'll start with a guided meditation. I'll lead us through a guided meditation, and then I'll give a talk, some thoughts about what Buddhist activism might look like under our current set of circumstances. And then I'll do my very best to leave a little bit of time at the end for some questions and comments and objections are allowed. So without further ado, looks like I will go ahead and mute everyone. And now might be a good time to check and make sure that any cell phones have been silenced or any other devices that might disrupt your meditation. We can begin by settling into a comfortable meditation posture, the most important feature of which is for our spine to be straight and relaxed. A straight spine facilitates unrestricted flow of our internal energy winds, sometimes called prana, sometimes called chi. Our mouth is closed, our jaw is relaxed, and if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and softly close your eyes. And to begin, I'd like you to please bring your awareness to the exhalation of your breath. And very gently, allow your exhalation to be just a bit longer and a bit more pronounced than your inhalation. If you'd like, please feel free to experiment with pausing briefly at the bottom of each exhalation. This meditation technique will allow both your physical body and your mind to start to settle and to rest, to become quiet and still. Now is not the time to reflect on events that have occurred in the past. Those events cannot be changed, undone, or recreated. Nor is this the time to speculate about events that may or may not occur in the future. The future is unknown to us at this time. Now is the time to be fully present here in this moment. Now is the time to give yourself full permission to enjoy engaging in a practice that's going to bring you a peaceful state of mind and at the same time create the causes for the creation of a peaceful world. Please bring your awareness to the crown of your head, to your scalp in particular, And I'd like you to allow at once all of the tiny muscles and nerves that support your scalp to become loose and completely relaxed. The tiny muscles and nerves at the top of your scalp and the back of your scalp, as well as the sides of your scalp. Please allow all of these tiny muscles and nerves to at once release and become loose and deeply, deeply relaxed. Please allow the tiny muscles across your forehead to become soft and relaxed. The tiny muscles that support your eyebrows and all of the muscles in your face to become soft and completely relaxed. Your facial muscles become so soft and relaxed that it might feel as though the pores of your skin are opening up now. Your mind starts to relax as your body is starting to relax. And for the remainder of our meditation, I would invite you to bring your awareness not only to the words that you hear, but also to the silent gaps in between the words and in between the sentences. Please allow the tiny muscles that support your jaw to become soft and relaxed. Just allow any tension that you might be carrying in your jaw to release, to drain away, to dissolve into empty space, to dissolve into space like emptiness. Your jaw may start to feel a bit heavier now, and it takes a gentle and deliberate effort to keep your jaw from dropping open. Please allow the muscles in your neck and your throat to become soft and relaxed, as well as the muscles in your shoulders, arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, and fingers, all the way to your fingertips. And your hands now might feel a bit warmer and heavier as they rest in your lap. And your mind relaxes as your body relaxes. And continue to be aware of the silent gaps. The muscles in your chest become soft and relaxed, and your lungs are now able to perform perfectly and without effort their natural function of breathing. the muscles in your abdomen, and likewise all of the muscles in your back, all of the muscles that support your shoulder blades and your spine. Allow these muscle sets to settle and to rest, to become soft and relaxed as you drop deeper and deeper on down. And let yourself go. The muscles in your hips and your pelvic area become soft and relaxed, as well as the muscles in your legs, knees, calves, ankles, feet, and toes. One by one, these muscle sets become completely soft and completely relaxed. The soles of your feet, even the muscles and nerves in the soles of your feet, even the tiny muscles and nerves at the tips of your toes, even your bodily fluids, even the marrow in your bones, even the cells that comprise the marrow in your bones are all resting and relaxed. Your body is like a mountain with consciousness now, balanced, grounded, stable, with ancient wisdom awareness. Your mind relaxes completely now as your body is completely relaxed. And let yourself go. All of the difficulties you experience in your life, without exception, arise from these confused notions of self and other, me and mine and not yours, ours and not theirs. So let yourself go. Now please redirect your awareness once again. Become aware again of your physical body and allow your breathing to become less shallow. Taking deeper and deeper breaths, become aware again of the garments of clothing resting on the surface of your body. Become aware again of your surroundings inside the room that you are occupying. Deeper and deeper breaths, becoming aware again of the world that exists outside of the room that you are occupying. Become aware again of clouds, of blue sky beyond the clouds, of outer space beyond the blue sky. And we dedicate all of the positive energy from this meditation and the entire class to world peace. May all beings without exception be completely free from all forms of suffering. May all beings without exception be happy, peaceful, contented, and free. Completely fill up your belly and lungs with air. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your meditation to an end. Thank you very much and welcome back. So, as I was preparing to offer this series, a regular from one of our, and it's actually Linda Shu who's on this call, or on this Zoom gathering. Um, as we were approaching the start of the start of the series, the first class in the series, Linda asked, um, so Buddhist activism, are you going to offer any suggestions or things that we can actually do, like actions that we can take, physical actions? In so many words, she said, I like sitting around in meditative equipoise in tranquil meditation, praying for world peace as much as the next gal. She said, and, um, you know, I am feeling a need to do something, right? To take some sort of definitive action. And and I get that. I totally get that. And that's why I offered this series. I felt compelled to offer the series. Um, there are a lot of there are a lot of actions that are being taken right now in this world with regard to the state of political, the state of this country's political situation, social situation, economic situation, and to the extent that one finds those conditions to be unfortunate, and I'm not saying necessarily that I or Lotus Center find them unfortunate. I have to be politically neutral on this, of course. So I'm, qualify everything that follows by saying, to the extent that you find the state of this country, the state of the world, the state of the environment, whatever it be, troubling, painful, you know, that I'm going to offer some tools that may help with that. And to answer Linda's question, yes, there will be actual definitive physical actions that we can take um, in accordance with the practices that I'm going to suggest, which are not, by the way, my idea. They are from they're from an ancient text that most of you might have heard of, called Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Um, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life was written by a Buddhist monk whose name was Shantideva. Shantideva, and there's a really interesting story. I'd like to share it with you. It's one of those fantastic stories, and so Shantideva, again in the 8th century, was a monk living in a monastery with other monks, and he didn't work around the monastery the way most of the other monks did. He he slept a lot. He slept a lot, and in fact, his nickname around the monastery, what came to be known as "he who eats, sleeps, and defecates." That's kind of what he was known as, I think it's safe to assume that some of the monks who were working hard, doing things around the monastery, might have developed some resentment, hence the nickname that they gave him. Um, so I think the level of resentment grew and grew with the monks. And so finally they made this plan to set up Shantideva And so they organized this big public Dharma talk, invited people from around the region and said, come to hear the great Shantideva give a teaching, a Dharma teaching. And, you know, it'll be profound and it will be amazing and you should come. And, you know, trying to set Shantideva up to look really, really bad, conduct unbecoming of Buddhist monks for sure, but there it is. And so what the monks were unaware of is that Shantideva, it wasn't ordinary laziness. It wasn't the laziness of sleep. Shantideva had learned how to meditate in his sleep. And all of that time sleeping, he was actually absorbed in meditative equipoise, very, very powerful, very deep meditation, and was like training and transforming his mind into a really beautiful jewel. So the day came for the public talk Shantideva was to give, and everybody, all the monks are expecting him to fall flat on his face. He gets up on the throne, so the story goes, and out of his mouth, in front of thousands and thousands of people, come the teaching, which is the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And the rest is history. It's when it became one of the most famous and most beloved. And here we are in the 21st century about to talk about it, about to discuss it. So, to the extent that you're not entirely sure what a bodhisattva is, I'll just say a few words about it. One could talk a long time about what a bodhisattva is and what bodhicitta is. Bodhicitta is a Sanskrit word which means mind of enlightenment. Bodhi, enlightened, citta, mind, an enlightened mind. And a bodhisattva is one who aspires to become a fully enlightened being, a fully awakened being for the sake of all sentient beings. And if our aspirations are not sure, we're not sure that we really even know what it means to be enlightened, much less make that our spiritual aspiration, that's okay. We can, saying, I want to become a better person for the sake of everyone in the world. That's good enough. That's plenty good enough. I think one with a aspiration to become a bodhisattva is I think it's maybe the most beautiful aspiration I've ever heard of, becoming a friend of the world. That's also how bodhisattvas are referred to sometimes, as a friend of the world. I'm going to become, I'm going to be, I'm going to say, and I'm going to do whatever is going to be of the most benefit to the most number of people. Whatever that means, I'm going to do it. I'm going to train my mind, my actions of body, speech, and mind, so that I can become a refuge for the people of the world. I might not be there now, but I aspire to get there. That's what I'm dedicating my life to, is becoming a better person for the sake of all beings in this world. So I'd like to read to you a short excerpt from Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, and it's called Generating Bodhicitta. Remember, bodhicitta being enlightened mind. And Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life is really just one big prayer. It's just one big prayer that Shantideva gives, along with instructions on how to accomplish those prayers. It's written very beautifully, I think. And here's an excerpt from the text. Shantideva writes, May I become a protector for the protectorless. a guide for those who travel on the road, and for those who wish to cross the water, may I become a boat, a ship, or a bridge. May I become an island for those seeking dry land, a lamp for those needing light, a place of rest for those who desire one, and a servant for those needing service. To benefit all living beings, may I become a treasury of wealth, powerful mantras, potent medicine, a wish-fulfilling tree, and a wish-granting cow. Just like the great elements such as earth and like eternal space, may I become the basis from which everything arises for sustaining the life of countless living beings. And until they have all passed beyond sorrow, may I sustain all forms of life throughout the realms of living beings that reach to the ends of space. Just a short excerpt, so beautiful, so inspiring, I think. And in those words come Shantideva's aspiration to become whatever the beings of this world need me to become. And yeah, as I alluded to before, a good place to start is becoming a better person. Yeah, becoming a better person for the sake of those around us. Maybe, well, I won't give examples because that's what Shantideva does in Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. He gives 6 practices. He offers 6 practices through which we can become a friend of the world. They're called the six perfections. The Sanskrit term is the 6 paramitas, the 6 paramitas. And Shantideva goes, he presents them in order and starts with what I think, I'm pretty sure this is right. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it starts with the easiest or maybe the most accessible, and then progresses to the most challenging of the 6, maybe the least accessible, attainable for sure, but not, and maybe for most of us, not immediately attainable. So I'm going to start at number 2 and go to 6, and then I'll come back to number 1, which is the one I'm going to talk about with the time we have left tonight. So the second of the 6 perfections is moral discipline, how we conduct ourselves. Moral discipline, just being aware of our actions of body, speech, and mind, and to what extent do they help as opposed to harm. Number 3 is patience, patient acceptance. 4 is effort, the perfection of effort. 5 is the perfection of concentration. And 6, the perfection of wisdom. And the one we're going to talk about tonight, with the time that we have left, is the first, what's presented as the first paramita, the first perfection, the perfection of giving, of giving. And this is, for me, it just turned the act of giving just on its head and opened up so many different possibilities. And before I sort of provide some contemporary examples and observations, I just want to say that there's worldly giving, we could maybe call it worldly giving, and then there is the perfection of giving. And what distinguishes the two is the motivation behind what we give. I'm going to give, engage in generosity for the sake of all beings. Yeah. That makes it a perfection, is that bodhicitta motivation. Whereas, other forms of giving, our intentions are limited only by our imagination. I'm going to give a gift to my friend Jim York and Grace Williams because I want them to like me, or I want to feel good about myself. or I want Jim and Grace to go around town telling people how generous I am, or whatever, all sorts of aspirations that aren't motivated by bodhicitta and therefore aren't considered a perfection, the perfection of giving. So it is the motivation of bodhicitta that makes these actions, whether it's patient acceptance, whether it's practice of moral discipline, whether it's giving, generosity, it's that bodhicitta motivation, the wish to benefit others, that makes it a perfection or a paramita. So I would imagine that most of the people on this call and this Zoom gathering are aware that there have been a lot of cuts, like funding cuts to programs that are very important to some of us, very near and dear to some of us, and have been, for some of us, have caused a great deal of pain. Um, there have been cuts to, I know saying things that I'm sure most of you already know. Thanks for indulging me. There have been cuts to the arts, National Endowment of the Arts. There have been cuts to conservation efforts, grants that were heretofore approved for environmental preservation, conservation, restoration. Those have been cut. Public media cuts taken, cuts to food stamps and other forms of assistance for people of more limited means. And it's been difficult for some of us to observe that. And I would submit to you that for some of it, I'll speak for myself, it has been illuminating for me to observe my state of mind with regard to these cuts by the federal government and sort of engage in what my teacher would call, my meditation teacher would call inappropriate attention, right? It's like those guys over there, are making these cuts and creating all of these problems. The behavior of those guys over there is really terrible and deplorable and inconsiderate and selfish and bad. And I become fixated on what these government officials are doing. Yeah, kind of monitoring every little micro development, like the latest government cut to a program that's really important to me. And in the process, lose sight of what I'm doing with my resources and my powers. Yeah. Instead of saying those guys over there are so bad, doing such bad things, it necessarily precludes me from taking an inventory of what I'm doing in order to make the world a better place, to support the people of this world, to support all living beings. For those of you who live in or around Silver City, guess what? There's a museum here. There's a museum in Silver City. And I know of at least one nonprofit art gallery. Yeah. What if instead of fixating on what the elected and appointed officials are doing and cutting, what if I focused on what I can give to some of the art interests in Silver City and Grant County? Yeah. Regarding food stamps, there's an organization here you may have heard of it, called The Commons. Yeah. It's a food pantry. They give away food to people in need. Environmental organizations here community radio station just down the street here, KURU, GMCR. Yeah. How about if I engage in the perfection of generosity by, instead of obsessing over what those guys are doing, why don't I go and give something to some of these interests that I care about and the people who benefit from those services, those interests? Yeah. Now, before I forget, I want to say, under the perfection of giving, there are three types of giving. The first one we're talking about tonight is giving material things, like our time, like our energy, like our bodily volunteering work, or money, making a monetary donation. Giving material things, and the other two things, suitable items to give, I'm going to save for Friday's class, so you'll have to come back on Friday to hear what the other two are. But yeah, please know that it's not lost on me that, like, cuts to all of these different programs that are important to some of us and on which a lot of people depend, my making a little donation to the community radio station or the local food pantry, it's not even a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of funding that has been cut. Maybe, maybe not, There's something in the laws of karma, actions and effects. I think everybody is familiar with the term karma and what it means. One of the rules of, or one of the aspects of the laws of karma is that the actions of results are increasing. The actions of results, the results of actions are increasing. So, like, my favorite analogy for that is, planting the acorn. We plant this little teeny acorn, and over time it grows into this enormous, powerful, beautiful oak tree. Yeah. Maybe all I've got to give to the food pantry or to the museum, $5, It counts. That counts, especially for the intention behind it, and especially when we take into account our bodhicitta motivation and the fact that the results of actions are increasing. And how does it increase? I can't tell you exactly how the dots connect every time, but I was thinking about it today as I was thinking about our talk today. Like, I give $5. I walk in across the street literally to the museum and go to the volunteer reception person and say, I'd like to donate this $5 to the museum because I care about the contribution that you make to this community. And the attendant will say, that's great. Thank you very much. She takes it and she gives the $5 to one of her colleagues, maybe somebody who's an employee there. Some guy just came in and gave $5. The person says, that is so wonderful. I'm so touched by that. And then thank you. I'll make sure this gets to the right place. And then they give it to the director of fundraising. And, the director of fundraising goes home and tells their family about it. And we can see the potential for the acorn to grow into a giant oak tree. Yeah. So that, Linda Shu, is an example of Buddhist activism. And let me just say, Buddhists don't claim to have a monopoly on the practice of giving. Of course not. That's silly. But organized as such, the perfection of giving, it's an example of an activist act, something we can do in the name of activism to make a tangible difference in the world, both inner and outer, as opposed to saying, those guys are messing everything up. Those guys over there, they need to change. You know, I'll give you a little secret about Buddhism to the extent that you don't already know. All roads lead to self-determination on this path. Yeah. So, anyways, 3 whole minutes for questions and comments. If you have anything you'd like to offer, please unmute yourself and share away. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation. It was
Thank you.
it was very interesting because from my sangha where I practice, we just have been doing the paramitas.
No kidding.
For the last 3 months.
Wow.
So it's been really fun to go through that. So thank you for bringing that to this.
You're most welcome, Linda. Where do you live?
East End of Long Island.
Oh, okay. Wow. Other end of the continent. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, it's a treat. Thank you.
Yeah, you're most
I'm
welcome.
so glad you're out there doing this work.
Me too. Yeah.
You can thank Jennifer. She got me here.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay.
I'd like to just add to something because, yes, a big struggle for me was dealing with, I've said no hate in my life. Like there's no hate, but it was just so hard to not feel animosity or feel this like deep anger come up around what the president was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And his cohorts, and it's so painful to me that it was it was wonderful for my practice because I really had to work with the kind of real anger that hadn't really felt for a very long time. So
yeah, thank you so much for that transparent sharing, Linda. Believe it or not, the president, to the extent that we are opposed to the actions and policies being implemented by the president, the president has actually given us some very valuable gifts. Like one is for those of us who have experienced anger, like really hatred, just real intense anger, that was kind of latent. We weren't even aware it was there. It was like, oh, I've got more work to do on my practice of patience than I realized. If it weren't for the president, I might have been duped into thinking, oh, I got this patient acceptance thing down cold. The other one is, and I'll just share this before we break. I'm kind of a stickler for trying to end on time. Is that for some of you, this might be the first time that you've received a teaching on the 6 perfections and the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And this offering was in direct response to the policies that have been implemented, some of the decisions that are being made. If this is the first time or if it's a refresher for you, if it weren't for those policies, probably wouldn't be receiving information, the teachings on the 6 paramitas and Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life and this beautiful mind of bodhicitta. So it's just all how we perceive it. It's a function of how we approach it. Remember what I said about self-determination? Yeah. It's 5:16, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming back when we botched it up the live stream on Friday. I hope I see you guys again this coming Friday, 5:30 to 6:15.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Yep, you're most welcome. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Jeff.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.